Hello plant friends, my name is Victoria and today we're going to be talking about fertilizers, specifically the two fertilizers that I use inside. So one of the things that you really want to do if you want strong, robust, growing plants is to fertilize. You can do this every 2 weeks or you can do this every week. So when you're doing this every 2 weeks, you're going to look at the back of the box and it's going to tell you how many drops or spoonfuls, and it's going to give you specific measurements that you're supposed to mix in a gallon. So that's at full strength. So you can actually water with that and it'll be fine. Now, if you wanted to do it every single week, you would do it at half strength. So you would look at the back of the box again and read the instructions, and it could say something like, the dropper Schultz food says 28 drops per gallon. So you're going to half that. So you're going to do 14. And that way you can water. Every time you water, you're going to use that solution. It's going to be just strong enough for you to see an effect, but not too strong for you to burn the roots. So we're going to show you the synthetic fertilizer that I use. So this is a really great fertilizer. It's the Schultz dropper plant food, and it's 10-15-10, and it's really easy to measure because it comes with this little dropper. And it looks like this. Something I do is I put on the back when I open something, just because sometimes it'll sit around for months if not years and I don't know like how old it is. So you have this little dropper and you're just going to measure your drops into the gallon. So you're going to add 28 drops, and then you can also add a mineral enhancer. I use SuperThrive, which is just 1/4 teaspoon, and then from there I shake it up and then I just pour it into my large, I have 2 different misters that I use. I pour it into my large 2-gallon mister, and that's what I use for all of my plants that have a reservoir underneath. So you need to use a synthetic fertilizer for anything that has a wick. If you use an organic fertilizer, it's going to clog the wick and the plant is not going to be able to use that wick to draw up the moisture. So I use that, and synthetics are really great. They are really cost effective, and there's some benefits to that you may not have with the organic. So the organic that I use is the Miracle Grow Performance Organics, and the numbers are 888. This is kind of like in granules, and it comes in a little bag. And what I do is I mix it in the gallon and I have to shake it up. So you can see there's little granules in there, and it also comes with a measuring container. It does have an odd smell to it. So what I do is I put 1 tablespoon into a gallon, and then I add my SuperThrive, which is 1/4 teaspoon, and I mix it up. And what I do with that is I put it into another mister, and basically I mist it into the plants. So why am I using a mister? It's simply because I water my plants after I fertilize. And that may sound kind of counterintuitive, but what I do is I just spray around the perimeter of each plant, so that way all of the roots have a chance to come in contact with that fertilizer. And then what I do is I either come in with distilled water or a little watering can, and I water around there. So that way the fertilizer has a chance to run down, and that's when I'm doing it at full strength. If you're doing it at half strength, it really doesn't matter. You don't have to do as many steps. So I've showed you the 2 fertilizers that I use, and I've been talking about SuperThrive, but I really haven't described what it is. Like, why would you want to use this? Well, I'll tell you my personal experience with it. So I had my philodendron micans and my melanochrysum and my different alocasias. They had really interesting dimples on the leaves. I used a microscope actually and tried to see if I had any pests. I treated with the powder diamethyst earth. or however you say it, and I didn't have those ailments pretty much go away. So what I started doing was using SuperThrive. It's a vitamin solution, and you can add it to any fertilizer. Basically, this is not a fertilizer. This is basically like vitamins for your plants. So I started adding it in my allocations. Used to have like a divot, and that went away. Oh, another thing. So the organic fertilizers, you can use those on terrariums and enclosed spaces because there isn't salt in them. So you'll have to put up with, I don't know if all of them have like a funny smell, but I know that this one does. The Miracle Grow Performance Organics, but it works incredibly well. I have had plants bloom that I didn't even know could bloom. And then you can also get one that's for vegetables that I think is going to promote more foliage if you don't have blooming plants like I do. But yeah, so the salts will build up with a synthetic fertilizer. I do fertilize this big terrarium back here. It's a 36 by 18 by 18, and that's why, one of the many reasons why it's so green and lush. And then I also use it in my different little begonia terrariums. So you can fertilize enclosed spaces, I do, but you need to use an organic fertilizer, otherwise those salts will build up and burn the roots. So I hope that this was able to shed some light on some fertilizer questions you may have had, and you're able to try some of these if you're not using a fertilizer. Also, if you have some fertilizers that I didn't list that you recommend, let me know below. And be sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.